call this meeting to order of the Regional Sanitation District and the Sacramento Area Sewer District and ask Madam Clerk to open the meeting and please call the roll to establish quorum.
Member Daniels? Frost?
Here.
Natoli?
Here.
Orozco?
Here.
Cerna?
Here.
Valenzuela?
Here.
Bang?
Here.
Villegas?
Here.
And Desmond?
Here.
And you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. And I would ask you to please rise and join me and ask Director Natoli to lead us in the pledge.
Be happy to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Don. Madam Clerk, please read the statement and public comment procedures.
This meeting of the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District and Sacramento Area Sewer District is being broadcast live on Metro 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T UVerse cable systems. This meeting is closed captioned and live streamed at metrolive.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting will replay Sunday, December 18th at 9 a.m. on Channel 14. This meeting can also be viewed at youtube.com/MetroCable14. In accordance with Government Code 54952.3, compensation for meeting of these legislative bodies is required to be verbally disclosed. The amount of $100 will be paid for each member participating today as a member of the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District, and the amount of $100 will be paid for each board member participating today as a member of the Sacramento Sewer District. Compensation for Sacramento County Supervisors and City of Sacramento Council members is paid to the county and city, respectively, to partially offset the costs of those governments. Compensation for other board members is delivered to the individuals. In compliance with directives of the county, state, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the meeting is live streamed and open to public attendance pursuant to health and safety guidelines. The practice of social distancing and wearing of face coverings, mask, or shield is recommended for the health and safety of all persons participating in person during the meeting, although it is not required. To make a public comment, please complete a speaker request form and hand it to the clerk. The chairperson will call your name when it's your turn to make a comment. Members of the public may also dial 916-875-2501 and follow the prompts. So when the chair opens public comment for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter, callers will be contacted by phone and transferred into the meeting to make their public comment. You may also send a written comment to boardclerk@saccounty.gov, and your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record. And that concludes the announcements.
Okay, thank you, Alma. Okay, so we'll move to our Regional County Sanitation District consent matters, items 1 and 2. Any questions or comments from members on these two items?
I do not see anyone with their hands raised in Zoom.
And looks like no one up here on the dais. Any public comment on these consent items, 1 and 2?
We did not receive any public comment request to speak.
Okay, for that, I'd entertain a motion.
Move consent. Hume, second.
We had a first from Director Cerna, second from Director Villegas. So please call the roll.
Member Daniels?
Aye.
Frost?
Aye.
Hume?
Aye.
Orozco?
Aye.
Natoli?
Aye.
Cerna?
Aye.
Valenzuela?
Yes.
Bang?
Yes.
Villegas?
Aye.
And Desmond?
Aye.
And the motion carries with those members present.
Okay. Thank you. Next, we'll move to public comment for items not on the agenda. It's the opportunity for public to comment on anything that we don't have listed. Do we have anybody signed up to speak?
We do not have any verbal public comments, but we did receive a written public comment, which I emailed to the members and also provided copies.
Okay. Okay. Then we'll move on to item 4, right? District separate matters, Regional County Sanitation District. Please call the item.
Item number 4 is the Sacramento Botanical Garden conceptual proposal to utilize RegionalSAN bufferlands property to develop a regional botanical garden.
Okay. Well, Christoph, do you want to introduce it?
Just Brian Young will be presenting. That's
Okay,
my
Brian.
introduction.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Christoph. If I We have the presentation. Members of the board, here and online, good morning. My name is Brian Young. I'm Environmental Program Manager for RegionalSAN, and I'm here today to make you aware of a proposal that RegionalSAN staff have received that involves utilization of a small portion of the 2,150-acre buffer land surrounding the wastewater treatment plant. This is an informational receive and file item. We are not requesting any action from your board on this topic today. So the proposal we received is from a group called the Sacramento Botanical Garden, or SACBO as they refer to themselves. SACBO is a 501c3 organization, and their mission is to bring a world-class botanical garden to the Sacramento area. The group notes that while there's more than 300 botanical gardens across the United States, Sacramento is just one of 15 capital cities without a significant botanical garden. And that's no disrespect to the Arboretum up at Sac State or the Jensen Garden in Carmichael, but what this group is envisioning is on a grander scale. They think of New York Botanical Garden or the Royal Botanical Garden of London. And the group intends to bring, or hopes to bring, a project like this to Sacramento in the next 10 years. So to explain a little bit more about what a botanical garden is and what this group is trying to do, I thought I'd let you hear a little bit directly from them. I have a short video clip from their website. It's narrated by one of their board members, Marlene Simon. She's also their media liaison. You also might recognize her from local TV and radio, as she's also known as the Plant Lady. So let me, if I could advance, how do I advance this right here?
It would be on it's the mouse, but it's the left. But there you go.
All right. Okay. So roll the Plant Lady.
Hi there, I'm Marlene Simon, the Plant Lady, and I want to talk to you about something that's really important to me as well as the community. Albert Einstein once said, "Look deep into nature and then you will understand everything better." As our concrete jungles grow, it's equally important that we also develop our green spaces. Myself, along with a group of people, are working very hard to bring to Sacramento a world-class botanical garden with a plant conservatory, water garden, drought-tolerant garden, and much more. A sustainable and healthy city life is possible if we create places for our community and our children to access nature. Rather than just teaching nature, we need to make sure nature is available in order to foster a relationship with our natural world. Of the 35 largest cities in the U.S., Sacramento is one of the few without a botanical garden. A botanical garden is more than just a park. It's a place of learning, conservation, growth, and relaxation. And we want to make this possible, so with your help, we could do so. So please follow us on social media, tell a friend, engage, and donate to make this dream possible.
I think that gives you a flavor of what they're about. The SACBO actually approached RegionalSAN originally in 2021 they wanted to explore the feasibility of locating a botanical garden on the size of about 80 to 100 acres wholly within the open space buffer surrounding the wastewater treatment plant. Staff advised SACBO of the important role that this open space buffer plays to ensure the unimpeded and continued operation of the wastewater treatment plant, and also advised SACBO of the significant commitments that RegionalSAN has made over the years to open space preservation and to wildlife habitat conservation. And that's been through land use management documents, as well as our use of the buffer lands for environmental mitigation projects and grant-funded restoration and enhancement projects on the property. So SACBO took this information to heart, and they developed a concept where they would take the active components and the major infrastructure of the garden and locate it on lands adjacent to the buffer lands, and then allow the passive or open space compatible uses to then spill over into about 60 acres in the northern portion of the buffer lands. And this exhibit here, about in the middle of this exhibit is this is a early Delta Shores rendering, but that 27-acre piece just south of Casumas River Boulevard, that's the area where they envision the active uses of the garden. And then that 61 acres that's shaded to the south and a little bit to the east of that area, that's where the open space compatible uses or passive uses would occur. So what are those active uses? I won't go through this whole list. They are contained in the proposal, which is in your board packet. But it would be things like a welcome center and gift shop and education center, a wedding venue, amphitheater, restaurant and snack bar, water features, dancing fountains, greenhouses, maintenance buildings, all the hardscape, the paved courtyards and parking, that would all be in this active area of the garden. The passive portion of the garden, that would be a number of different types of gardens, demonstration gardens, gardens that demonstrate regenerative ag practices, and garden to fork concepts, pollinator gardens, native plant gardens, drought-tolerant gardens, multicultural heritage gardens, an open access community garden. And then all these gardens would be surrounded by about 20 acres of native wildlife habitat, natural water features, and interpretive trails. So in the proposal, SACBO's actually prepared a conceptual layout. That's what I have on the screen here. And again, the lighter green area, or brighter green area, I should say, close up to Cosumnes River Boulevard and Delta Shore Circle South, that's where the active components of the garden are envisioned. And then those gardens interspersed with native habitat are in that lighter green area to the south and east of that area. So the proposal also discusses some of the benefits or attributes to RegionalSAN with this garden proposal. The first two, compatibility with treatment plant operations and consistency with bufferlands management objectives. That's the first thing we look at with any proposed use on the bufferlands. And with this particular proposal, while there's a lot of details to be worked out, on a conceptual basis, staff does believe that the garden can be designed in a way that would not impede our treatment plant operations and could be consistent with the open space management objectives and goals of our bufferlands master plan. Providing active management and controlled access at our property public interface is an important consideration, especially in this area. It's a rapidly growing area between Delta Shores and the Stone Beetland area, just to the north of the proposed project area. In the next few years, we'll be seeing tens of thousands of new residents and visitors in this area on a daily basis. So having that presence and that active management at that public interface could be helpful in our management of all the lands to the south. The garden's going to be needing a water source, and they're very excited about the prospect of potentially utilizing recycled water from the wastewater treatment plant for irrigation and for some of their water features. And they also submit that the garden could be an excellent platform for RegionalSAN to showcase some of its resource recovery efforts involved with our wastewater treatment process. So not just water recycling, but also biosolids recycling. And then lastly, the garden is intended to be a public benefit, a benefit to the local community, producing economic, educational, and recreational benefits to the area, which will include a lot of our ratepayers. On the economic front, SACBO estimates that the botanical garden could create as many as 150 jobs and bring in about $15 million of revenue annually to the local economy. So just one more exhibit I wanted to share. This is the same area. It's the pink line that's shown extending from the treatment plant north up through the proposed project area. This is just to give you an idea of the proximity to existing recycled water infrastructure. This is an 18-inch recycled water line that we have that runs up to the Campbell power plant where it provides cooling water. I also wanted to mention on this slide that this is not the first time that RegionalSAN has contemplated publicly accessible open space use in this area. In 2009, RegionalSAN, with approval from your board, entered into a letter of intent with the city of Sacramento. I see Don shaking his head. He's maybe the only one that was here to have us enter into that agreement.
Yeah,
but
Bonnie Pinnell was working on it, the councilperson at the time. So.
Right. Right. So the idea and what the letter intent described was just conditions in which Regional SAN would be amenable to an open space passive use regional park in this area. So restoring habitat, installing trails, water features, picnic areas. So the city hasn't pursued that concept since 2009, but in recent talks with city staff, they also have not dismissed revisiting that idea. But in terms of the SACBO proposal, they do not consider the SACBO proposal mutually exclusive of an open space park by the city in this area in the future. The city has not taken any formal action with the SACBO proposal, but they have acknowledged that they've been in discussions with the group. City support and actually the Delta Shores development support is going to be essential for this project or for this proposal to move forward. The 27-acre active use component of the project that I've mentioned a few times, in this exhibit it's outlined in blue. That's actually owned by the Delta Shores developer, M&H Realty Partners, and it's dedicated or committed to the city of Sacramento to be used as a community park. That 27-acre commitment may be changing over time. There's been some changes to the level of service standards for parkland in recent years that could allow the developer to remap and reduce that footprint to about 10 acres. But whether it's 10 acres or 27 acres, the SACBO is going to need to continue their discussions with the developer and the city to determine just how and how much of that property can be utilized to support this botanical garden. So SACBO is going to continue their discussions with the developer and with the city, as well as they continue with Regional SAN. And they also recognize that there's several other steps that they need to get through before a ribbon cutting ceremony for the botanical garden. A feasibility study, a business plan, selecting design consultants, developing the garden design, where they're going to be soliciting input from the community, land use agreements with Regional SAN and the city of Sacramento, maybe also throw in Delta Shores in that mix. Budget development, a capital campaign, raising the money for this effort, entitlements, permits, CEQA compliance, construction, and eventually project development. So it's a lot to cover in 10 years. I highlighted one bullet on here, and that's land use agreements with Regional SAN. And that's because any sort of long-term lease agreement or other type of land use agreement, or even a commitment to enter into a long-term land use agreement, will require action from your board. And so we would bring this item back. Before doing so, we would, of course, be looking at the latest plans and designs and making sure that they're compatible with our treatment plant operations and consistent with our bufferlands master plan. We would also assess compatibility with the city of Sacramento's open space intent in this area, and then also just bring forth any concerns or any support that is expressed to us from the various environmental stakeholder groups of Regional SAN. In the meantime, we're going to continue to stay engaged with SACBO, and we'll keep your board apprised as this concept develops. With that, I can take any questions, and I also want to mention that SACBO has a 7-member board of directors, and I believe over half of them are here today. So if you have any questions for them or me, you can direct them as appropriate.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Brian. We have Director Cerna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the presentation. I think the concept is intriguing. And I don't know if you can answer this, or perhaps one of the board members that's here with us in chambers this morning, perhaps they could. But I think I heard you mention that this would be designed to contribute revenue, or it would generate revenue somehow. So is the concept one that includes some kind of charge or price for the public to enjoy the botanical gardens?
Yes, I could venture my interpretation, but I think probably it's best to hear from SACBO themselves. So if I can reach back to Renee here. Renee, please introduce yourself.
Good morning, Renee Taylor. Nice
to see
see
you,
you
Renee.
all. Thanks for listening to the presentation this morning. Yes, in fact, it would be a privately run botanical garden, much like gardens, Blue Shark Garden, Kew Gardens, the other one. There's a fee for entrance. There will be portions of the garden that we would like to have community access to, a significant community garden for local agriculture, a playground, some amenities outside of the garden. But because we envision a project that will be financially self-sustaining, it needs to make money. So there will be gates and fees, and there'll be corporate events and such like that to fund it.
Thank you. Do we know whether or not the entire 27 acres or a portion of the 27 acres is required per the Quimby Act for the Delta Shores development?
Our understanding, and I think Maya Vang is on, Councilmember Vang is on the call, so she may want to answer. We've had conversations with City Parks, City Planning, City Attorney's Office. Initially, the 27 acres was required for the Quimby Act, but the city has reduced their per acre commitment for parks from 5 acres per thousand to 3.5. Therefore, the Delta Shores community is currently over-programmed for parkland, and so that's part of the component about would there be 10 acres available, would there be less than 10 acres, would there be more? Could the city make its community parks requirement in a different location nearby? All of those are discussions we're having with city staff.
So if I understand correctly, at the time the Delta Shores project was entitled, the Quimby standard for the city was higher.
5 acres per thousand.
Okay. Not to rain on anyone's parade here, but I think it's an important question to really understand early, because legally, I just wonder out loud whether the city is obligated to provide the ratio of parkland per the standard that was in place at the time of entitlement versus kind of retroactively looking at a lower standard presently to give you the flexibility to have some portion of the 27 acres that would not be publicly accessible but for an entrance fee. So.
Sure. There's one other proposal that we have outlined where the community park can take a portion of the 27 acres and, as Brian explained, could bleed into the regional SAN land with passive uses and trails and such that was envisioned back in that earlier proposal. So there's a hybrid option where you could still get 27 acres of community park if that's what's required and still have enough land set aside so that the active uses of the botanical garden could be on that city portion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Cerna. And I see that Director Vang has her hand raised. Director Vang?
Thank you, Chair. Just really wanted to first take this opportunity to thank Brian just for his thorough presentation and the members of SACBO. I've had the opportunity to meet with several of the co-founders, Renee, who you heard from just recently, Dr. Long as well, Derek Lamb and others. And for me, originally, as the city council member for District 8, this area was not in my district, but due to redistricting, it is now officially in our district, District 8. And I believe it's actually a really exciting opportunity for our community in South Sacramento and especially our region. You know, if we are able to make this a reality, it will be a catalyst for our region. While I understand that this is only a conceptual layout, and this is really a receive and file, in terms of RegionalSAN, really thrilled from the presentation from Brian and just the work that has been done up to this point to really showcase how this will actually complement the plans of RegionalSAN, for example, by using some of the recycled water in terms of compatibility, consistency with the bufferland management. I think this would be a really incredible project as well. At the moment, in my conversation with city staff, there is still a lot of details to work out, as you heard earlier from Brian and also Renee. We do have that 27-acre land next to the buffer land that's dedicated for the public for a community park in Delta Shores. There's conversation that the developer might remap this and make it 10 acres. And so, there's still a lot of details to work out. We're still in the beginning phases. But I just want to say that I am committed to advancing this proposal and really hoping that we'll be able to find a path forward. We are still working concurrently with SACBO and just city staff as well. And the other part is making sure that we have an authentic community engagement process as well in the South area as we move this forward. And so, again, just really wanted to say thank you to Brian. He's been the point of contact for this project in particular at RegionalSAN, and want to thank him for his work and really just all the members of SACBO for their steadfast advocacy to bring something incredible like this to our region and to South Sacramento. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Vang. Director Natoli.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I would just echo some of the comments. Certainly, I think that does present a real exciting opportunity, to use words that Member Vang just put forward. And I think that, as we look at, the utility, certainly of the what the district, is providing on the overall site, but the, purpose of the buffer lands certainly provide that buffer, but also then I think to allow for opportunities like this. I would suggest too that, and again, I think the concept has a lot of merit, and obviously we'll take some time to work out many of the important details and then the aspects of actually assuming that we're to go forward to actually bringing it bringing it to life. But I would just suggest too that, and I know we have folks in the audience that are involved with our Nicholas Ranch project, but we still have the Sims Ranch property too that this district has put forward, at least some conceptual ideas for. And I think it might be wise over time, certainly with this proposal being entertained, to look at how we integrate that with partners that are providing opportunities, one, to learn about the functionality of the sanitation district facilities there and the importance to daily life and sanitation, health and welfare and so forth, but then all the opportunities that, because of the wide expanse of property where it lies, obviously geographically with wetlands and in proximity to large populations, certainly City of Sacramento and City of Elk Grove and unincorporated areas. I just think there's a real opportunity, and I guess I was just maybe look to Christoph and Brian. I think at some point, I know we have a master plan, we have planning documents that certainly guide the work, the planned expansion and conversion that we've been in the midst of for several years now. But I do think around our perimeter and how, again, we can serve as not just the catalyst, because we have the acreage and the property and maybe some of the assets like recycled water, but how we integrate that then into, I think, either destinations for people to visit and or to obviously learn and grow in their understanding of natural processes, but also obviously with the gardens here and in what we've done, thus far at Nicholas Ranch, the educational opportunities I think are just boundless. And I would suggest that with Sims Ranch, which still obviously requires some additional investment and, I think some noodling on what might occur there, but that's an interface right off of Franklin Boulevard. This is off of Calvine Casumas. Obviously, Nicholas Ranch is on the southern tip of some of the sanitation district properties, but has good access off of Laguna Boulevard. I just think there's a real opportunity over time to continue to grow uses that are compatible, that allow obviously folks to partake of some of the things that wouldn't otherwise necessarily be available in the more urban setting. And I guess I would just encourage this district going forward, one, continue the commitment to Nicholas Ranch, look at the Sims Ranch, and working obviously with SACBO on this proposal and or other proposals come forward. Again, as long as they're compatible with the functionality of the plant and what the district provides relative to sanitary sewer service and treatment. But I just think this really, again, it could be another platform for actually doing things that, for generations to come will benefit, people, both visitors, but certainly youngsters and people from all walks of life with open space uses, educational opportunities, and the opportunities to actually participate with hands-on experiences. And so I guess I would just encourage us, again, I put a word in for Sims Ranch, but also obviously the Nicholas Ranch, and certainly what Sacbo is looking to do here on the north end of the Bufferlands property, and what we do obviously regionally to the west, with flood protection and such. There's just tremendous opportunity, and I appreciate, Brian, your leadership, certainly Christoph, the district staff, and I think this is another grand opportunity for the district to be a real strong partner because of the wisdom that was in place a number of years ago, decades ago, to actually set aside a buffer lands that would provide protection for the plant operations. But now we're seeing the reality of what it could mean to future uses there that are compatible with what we do. So I would just say, go forward and do good work.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Director Natoli. Director Hume.
Thank you, Chair. I echo all of the comments of the directors who've already spoken, and I think that this proposal has a lot of promise to it. But from what I'm hearing, and particularly from the line of questioning that Director Cerna engaged in, is that given the refactoring of Quimby for Delta Shores, that there's probably going to be a pretty significant financial lift there if that's the preferred site. And I appreciate the comments from Director Natoli that there's maybe some flexibility of other locations that would serve the same purpose and still not nibble away at the buffer to the actual plant operations. And so I think from a sequencing standpoint, if we can get some sort of tacit approval, and it sounds like staff is fairly conciliatory to the proposal, so that the SACBO folks can start working on a capital campaign and raise the money should they need to buy the land from the M&H folks. So I think it's a great public use. It's a great use of the buffer lands, and it would be a great opportunity to bring some exposure to all of the work we've been putting into the harvest water project and the plant upgrades. So I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Hume. Any other directors with questions or comments?
I do not see anyone else with their hand raised in Zoom.
Okay. Any public comment on this item?
We did not receive any verbal public comments or written public comments.
Okay. Well, I want to add my voice to the thanks, Brian and Christoph and the SACBO folks who are here. Definitely appreciate the comments from the directors and their input. I mean, obviously there's a lot more hurdles to get over, and you're bringing this to us very early on, which is great. I agree that it really fits in with a larger vision that this district has, and I think it's very exciting as well. So look forward to just really following your progress and hearing reports back. And this is receive and file, is that correct? So no action needed by us. Thank you, Brian.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next we'll move on to both districts' consent matters 5 and 6. I'll ask if there are any member questions or comments.
I do not see anyone in Zoom with their hand raised.
No one here on the dais. Any public comment on
We did
items
not
5 and
receive
6?
any requests to make public comment.
Okay.
I would move the consent items. Second, RegionalSAN.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Natoli, second by, I think it was Director Cerna. Got it first, right? Was it you? No, okay. Oh, Director Vega. Sorry, I thought it was first and second, please call the
my
roll.
voice this morning.
Ventriloquist.
Actually, and I do need a second from a member of the Sac Sewer District, so I need another motion. Okay, you'll second. Mr. Natoli, do you want to still keep that motion for Sac Sewer?
Yeah.
Okay,
Fine with
thank
that.
you.
I'm okay with whoever seconded it. So I don't.
Really throw us for a loop if you didn't.
Member Daniels,
Aye.
Frost,
Aye.
Hume,
Aye.
Orozco,
Aye.
Cerna,
Aye.
Valenzuela,
Yes.
Vang,
Yes.
Villegas,
Aye.
and Desmond.
Aye.
And the motion carries with those members present. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Aye.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Natoli. I'm so sorry.
I figure if I made the
Please
motion, I
forgive
can
me.
vote
On both motions? Is that enough?
Please forgive me.
Okay, I'm going to exercise a little discretion, and for the regional SAN and sewer district separate matters, item 7, I'm going to hold that until after the other consent items. So we're going to take up consent items, Sac Area Sewer District consent items 8 through 13, unless there is an objection. I'll check. Any member questions or comments on these consent items 8 through 13?
I just wanted to comment on item 12, please.
Okay, Director Natoli.
Yep.
Would you like to read me?
Go ahead.
Oh, we called the audience.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Certification of the final environmental impact report, adopt findings of fact and overriding considerations, and adopt the mitigation monitoring reporting program for the Hood Septic Conversion Project, PLER 2021-00127.
Yeah, I just wanted to express a deep appreciation to our staff and certainly to the community representatives. And I note on another agenda item where I'm moving forward on both Linda Manor and Old Florentown. Again, those are commensurate efforts, and certainly appreciate the effort that's gone forward on those. But we are certifying the final EIR here and advancing the work. I know we again been working with district staff and the community for several years, and I want to thank Christoph and all of your folks. I know Mike and others have been a part of community meetings, even some recently, working with both the community folks in Hood and in the town of Franklin. And this is an important effort, one that obviously has taken a lot of work just to get to this point. And I didn't want to just go by on consent without at least noting certainly the tremendous effort that's gone into it. Obviously, there's a lot of paper involved in the environmental impact report. But beyond that, I think the prospect of bringing a sanitary sewer to a small rural Delta community is so very, very important. And I want to just say thank you and look forward to the day when this actually becomes a reality. And I know you've had to negotiate, kind of the gauntlet, certainly of the various agencies and, the funding sources and so forth. But people are excited and certainly ready for this to happen, and look forward to the day when you can actually, turn on the flow and serve this community in a way that will be, I think, good for generations to come, and really does, I think, bolster efforts. And certainly my colleagues here, but I know Supervisor Villegas, certainly in his work with matters involving Delta, likewise my colleagues on this board. This is an important asset for the community viability. And I would just note that Hood is still in the bullseye as it relates to the proposed Delta Tunnel and the investment that this county and certainly this district are making, both in bringing improved water service, but also sanitary sewer, I think just bolsters the efforts to support our Delta communities. And I know that it's something that folks down there are embracing, and I look forward to the day when it actually is completed. So just wanted to express words of thanks, Christoph, to you and your staff.
Yeah, a lot of staff, as you know, have been involved in this, and I want to appreciate their efforts as well. And we thought it was very fitting that we get both the environmental document and the design contract for Hood at this board meeting, being your last board meeting, and the advocacy that you've done for that community. So
Thanks.
Very good.
Okay, thank you, Director Natoli and Christoph. And this is just one more example of your legacy to this county and your advocacy for these Delta communities. So, okay, any other comments on the consent items 8 through 13? No directors with hands raised, Madam Clerk?
I do not see any directors with their hands raised.
Any public comment on these items?
We did not receive any public comments request to speak.
Okay, entertain a motion.
Hume, I'll move consent.
I second.
We have Hume moved, and I heard Director Natoli second.
I actually have somebody else on the phone.
Okay.
Go ahead and get it.
Who was the second on the motion?
Whoever has the music playing.
I think it was Laloe.
And I don't believe Mr. Director Laloli can make the motion because he's not a member of the Sac Sewer District. So we need
I
another
can
second.
second.
Thank you.
Okay.
Second.
Director Frost seconds.
Okay, thank you. Member Daniels?
Aye.
Hume?
I moved away from the speaker. Aye.
Natoli?
Aye.
Cerna?
Aye.
Vang?
Yes. Yes.
Frost?
Aye.
And Desmond?
Aye.
And the motion carries with those members present. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Alma. Okay, now we'll move on to item 7, and I'll turn it over to Christoph.
All right, just briefly, we have our next meeting on January 11th. We'll be electing a new chair and vice chair, and you'll get information on kind of how that process works in your packets at that time. But January 11th is our next meeting. And then at this point, we would like to recognize Director Don Natoli for his 28 years, as far as I can count, 28 years of service to this district, actually these two districts, both of the sanitation districts. Today's his last board meeting, and we just want to recognize your incredible leadership over the years. With that, could Metro Cable bring up a little photograph that we have? There we go. So, as everyone knows, Don Natoli, he doesn't really have anything to do all day. He sits, the last 28 years, he's been sitting in his office and twiddling his thumbs, and I guess one time he decided he'd like to try alligator wrangling. So we gave him a little training at the Walk on the Wild Side event, and that's the photo that you're seeing there. All right, I have a couple of gifts for you, so I'll have you come on down, and we have 2 items. There's a clock that is from both districts, and then we also have a little Echo Water memento as well, and we'll provide that afterwards. But
Thanks. Well, thank you, Christoph. I won't be long. I just want to express again my appreciation, certainly to all the district staff, my colleagues on this board, certainly past and current. It's an opportunity, I think, for all of us to gain certainly a good understanding of what it means to provide, public utility service to such a wide customer base in this district over the years. Has grown through legislative action and with the additions, obviously, of our new cities, but also the city of West Sacramento and the county of Yolo. Work that's been done to not just expand the interceptor program to carry wastewater to our plant. Obviously, the Echo Water, the Harvest Water projects, which are currently underway. Other things we've talked about today. But it's, again, been a real pleasure to have served with all of you and to have worked with Christoph and all of his predecessors and certainly district staff. And it's important work. Often, I think it's sometimes overlooked just because it's in the ground and you don't see it. But if you flush and then it comes back at you, you know that there's work to be done. I knew you think about it. So, but they do a tremendous job. And again, I think we've looked out for the ratepayers, but also looked out for the future of this community as it relates to its health and safety. And it is it's a strong premise by which cities and counties were established as to the general welfare and health and safety of its residents and the folks that are served in those municipalities and county jurisdictions. And this district has been such a strong partner. And I know the board and certainly the leadership here will continue, well into the future. So it's in good hands. And it's a real pleasure to have served on this board and many others during my tenure. And I will miss certainly the association and camaraderie that comes with serving on a board. And again, but I know it's in good hands. So thank you very much for the clock. I won't have to worry that much about what time to get up anymore in a couple of weeks. But this is a gorgeous memento, and I thank you so much. And I appreciate the effort that's gone on over the years. A lot of successes, and I won't begin to even touch on them. But again, continue the good work. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Natoli. How about a photograph with district staff? Photograph with district staff here in front of the dais?
Yes. Yeah, let's get this.
Well, Mr. Chair, while they're assembling,
please.
I would like to suggest that at a future Regional SAN board meeting, we consider looking at the prospect of a Don Natoli lift station.
Go board members?
Yeah, everybody.
He doesn't want to hold the clock? Yeah. Yeah, have him hold that. guys get in a little bit? Yeah, there you go. Yeah. This time you get to be in the front. Yeah.
Excuse me. So everybody go that way.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, Mackenzie. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not empty, so.
Don, if we ever see you sporting alligator cowboy boots, we'll know where the raw material came from.
Chair, can I say a word?
I believe Member Daniels in the Zoom would like to speak.
Okay. Member Daniels?
Thank you very much. I want to thank Don for his 28 years of service. Wow, that's incredible. But I don't know if I'll have another opportunity to publicly say this. I just want to express to Don that I have always found him, I've known him since 1999, I think, to be the most dedicated and prepared elected official I've ever seen. And there's nobody I admire more on the local level than Don Natelli. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Brett. That's very kind. And I've enjoyed knowing you and working with you as well. So thank you so much. It's very kind.
Thank you, Director Dan. Any other directors' comments?
I do not see anyone with their hand. Oh, Member Frost.
Okay. Director Frost.
I know I'll have one more opportunity, but just wanted to say, Don, thank you for your service to the county and for all that you have done to help all of us along the way. We're going to miss you, and I wish you well in retirement. You deserve a break, although not sure you're going to be able to deal with it. I don't know how you're going to deal with it, to slow down. But you've been a great leader, and we appreciate all that you've done. And thank you so much, Don, for everything.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you for your kind comments.
Thank you, Director Frost. Any other directors?
I do not see.
Director Villegas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also wanted to say thank you, Don. I think you really emulate so much of what we aspire to be, and you've been a great mentor to me. My tenure on the Board of Supervisors is always looking for somebody to track after and to use as a good example, and you've served as that. So thank you very much for your stewardship and your taking seriously the responsibilities that we've all been very blessed to have. So you're a good example. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar. And I appreciate the friendship from all of you. And I know I've received a lot of kind comments in recent weeks, and I'm taking those to heart. But I just, again, stepping away from this, you'll still be my friends, and that's a treasure that nobody can take away. So thanks.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to keep my powder dry until our Board of Supervisors meeting.
As will I.
As will Supervisor Serna. Okay.
If I could, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely, Director.
Krista Whitman, this is her last meeting with this body, and I wanted to recognize her. She has 26 years of service with Sacramento County, and she's served this board very ably and capably over the years, and certainly the Board of Supervisors on many matters. And I don't know if there was a recognition plan or not, but I wanted to call that. I know I had a chance to speak with the County Council office staff to the group about a week and a half ago, and I didn't know that until Krista shared it, but I wanted to thank Krista for her work over the years with the district and for always giving us good, solid, sound advice and helping us sort through some of the legal matters and entanglements that we tend to encounter as we're trying to do major projects. But your work has been very appreciated, Krista, and so maybe a round of applause for
Thank you, Krista. Yes. Thank you, Director Natoli, for calling out.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Director Hume has his hand raised.
Director Hume.
Thank you, Chair. I've had opportunity over the last several months to praise Don publicly and privately. He is the model public servant, and he leaves very big shoes to fill. And I just want to say, if you take in not only his time as supervisor, but his work on staff of his predecessor, I think his service to the board goes back to when people used to hand carry their chamber pots out to the trenches. He's seen a lot of changes over the years. And the only thing I can say is please don't change your phone number.
Okay. Thank you, Pat.
A regional SAN
Quite
reference.
an image.
Yeah, it's too many. Okay, any other directors?
I don't see anyone else with their hand raised in Zoom.
Okay. Well, then our last item is receive and file. And so with that being no further business, I will adjourn the meeting at 10:23.
Good job, Mr. Desmond.